We'll kick it off with the largest, allegedly, because Aaron Rodgers said he has not signed it yet, but that doesn't mean he hasn't put the pen to paper yet. Doesn't mean he has agreed to it. If Ian Rappaport says he did it, or Tom Pelissero says he did it, or Adam Schefter said he did it, then he did it. It's not the biggest contract.
Unless he didn't do it.
Unless he did it.
Come on, Aaron. You know you're going to do it. Do it. Do it. 4 years, $200 million, $150
$200 million.
Whew.
153, right? 153 million of it's guaranteed.
I mean, dude,
and
the
he
four
lowers
of us
his cap
combined in our entire life won't make $153 million, and this dude just put pen to paper, and he's crushing it. Well deserved. Back-to-back MVPs.
Yep.
The salary cap goes up every year. Now it's going to be $208 million. So $50 million, that's a large chunk. For a guy that always complains about, like, I don't have enough around me, like, where are you going to spend all that money now?
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough to put a team around him, but they're gonna figure it out, man. They're gonna work some stuff. They're gonna work their magic, and they're gonna push it all down the road. I mean, they're gonna have to.
Well, and even their cap situation for this season actually got a little bit better with him signing that contract. So it actually alleviated some of that for this year, which is why they were able to, which is another part of the news today, able to franchise tag Davante Adams. So the band is back together. Mm-hmm. At one point, that looked very, very unlikely. But everything kind of just kept going in that direction, and they made it work.
Yeah, there's going to be a very solid trend of all these things we're talking about is nobody left. And we talk about it all the time.
The only team that's still like
there's one person that's gone. It was kind of arguably the biggest news of the day.
Who's that?
Russell Wilson.
Oh, well, we haven't got there yet. That's not. We're talking about free agency.
You said that's the theme of the day is that nobody left.
Yeah, well, nobody left that was going to be free agents. They all got franchise or signed extensions.
So what I was going to say before you interrupted was the Saints. They weren't able to franchise tag their left tackle because they just don't have enough money. I mean, they were the worst team. They were $64 million over the cap, and they weren't able to get that done because there's no magic that can get you out of that.
Yeah, Terran Armstead. Yeah.
Yep.
So with Rodgers' new deal, obviously with Davante Adams there, still a top 5 dynasty quarterback in your guys' eyes, even with the age. Like now we know, hey, we got about 4 years of Aaron Rodgers in a Superflex league. Are you viewing him now as still a top 5 quarterback, or is he in that 6 to 10 range for you?
That's a good question. That one's tough because I think before, when we were doing our show, I think just last week when we were talking about this kind of stuff, he had been dropped a little bit, but it was due to the fact that we didn't know that he was going to be around. And now that we know that he's going to be around, and it's 4 years, I think I probably have to go back in and readjust my rankings and put him back. He'll be at probably the bottom part of that top 5. He'll probably be right around number 5. But I think obviously from a skill set standpoint, and the fact that Brady just retired as well, he's kind of like the new old guy that's just going to produce like crazy and probably get traded a bunch here in the next 3 or 4 years in Superflex and 1 QB leagues for that matter.
If you're talking about redraft or like on the Dynasty GM tool, the contender version, which is basically the same thing, then yeah, I would say absolutely. I mean, he's still at the top of his game. But as far as Dynasty goes, I can't quite put him there. When you look at, you got Mahomes, Herbert, and Allen, which have the top 3 spots locked up no matter what.
Yep.
Then you would have to get him ahead of
Burrow,
Kyler, Dak, Watson. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I can put him ahead of 2 of those or 3 of those guys to get him in the top 5.
I won't put him at any of those guys.
So that's the thing. I think he's more like 8-9 range for me.
I think I can get him ahead of Kyler. You don't think you can get him ahead of
No.
I can't personally, but even if you got him ahead of Kyler, that would still put him at 7.
And I'm not even a Kyler like supporter, but like I wouldn't put ahead of Kyler for Dynasty.
It's just so many years.
For 4 years, you think Dak is going to outperform him for the next 4 years? Because 4 years is a long time.
I bet he doesn't play out the whole 4 years.
You don't think he's going to play?
I bet he doesn't.
I have a hard time believing he's not going to.
I bet he plays out 3 of the 4.
Okay. 3 years is a long time.
It's about 36 months.
You're right. You're very good at math.
Give or take
a couple days. Leap years involved. You never know.
I'm willing to keep him up there.
That's fine.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, you can check them out. Our Dynasty Nerds rankings are now. We updated our Dynasty rankings. If you're not a Nerd Herd member, you can check them out now. Now they're a little bit dumbed down for the non-Nerd Herd members, where you can't like sort them all overall. But you can see our individual rankings. You can see those quarterback ranks. Check them out. See where Aaron Rodgers sits. Go to dynastynerds.com. Check out rankings. Boom, boop, boop. That's my ranking noise. And obviously Davante Adams goes with him. They're going to try and lock Davante up long term as well. Probably same thing. Probably want to give him a 4-year deal here.
Push some money down the road so it's less of a cap hit.
And if you've been following to the trend, I mean, Davante Adams has slowly slipped down the dynasty ranks a little bit here. You know, people have been, like Frogger in him. So what do you guys think? Is this, if they can get a 4-year deal done with Davante Adams, does this solidify Davante Adams where we were saying, hey, we probably take Deebo Samuel probably ahead of Davante Adams possibly for long-term dynasty. If we can get 4 more years out of Davante Adams, which again would probably be like a 3-year deal because he's going to be 29, does this also solidify him in your dynasty wide receiver ranks? Like, does this bolster him up in your guys' rankings a little bit to kind of like lock him in where he was or close to it?
I didn't necessarily tie his value to Aaron Rodgers. So I view him, I think, the same, regardless of, like, I didn't drop him down because I thought, hey, he's going to not be with Aaron Rodgers.
But now that we know he is going to be with Rodgers is what I'm saying, which is equals touchdowns galore. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that but now that we know this pair's locked in, is that the boost? Because, I mean, obviously the word for everybody was like, hey, if you go somewhere else besides, like we all said,
Oakland
or Las Vegas with Derek Carr from that Fresno State connection, what does that lose some of its luster a little bit? So to me, I think it does boost it back up because you mentioned before, just with Rodgers, 3 more years to get a guy of Adams' caliber, which is high-end wide receiver 1, potential 1 overall.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think the difference for me, and I guess I can only explain it from my point of view, is
you just never moved him.
I never moved him down because I thought he was going to go somewhere else. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, was moved down because I wasn't sure if he was going to be here. So now that Aaron Rodgers is for sure going to be here, I have to move him up a little bit, whereas in Davante Adams, I don't really need to move, knowing that he's going to be with Aaron Rodgers or without him. Like, he was going to be here in the NFL no matter what, either way.
I struggle with this one because he's not going to touch the tier of Chase and Jefferson just simply because they're so young.
Right.
Yep.
So then you have the tier of like A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Debo. All of those guys are really close.
Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
I have him behind TJ Moore. I'm about to move him up right now.
So I just went and looked. I had him at 5 before this. I'm not going to move him up.
Right.
He's not going to be above Justin Jefferson. He's not going to be above Jamar Chase or A.J. Brown or Deebo Samuel for me. Like, he's just going to stay there. That's where he's going to live.
And I think I have him right around 6 or 7, and he'll probably stay virtually in that same spot because even if it is he has a 4-year deal, I feel good about 2 of those years. But once you get to 31 and 32, I don't care who you are. I'm not counting on you. We saw it happen with Julio Jones. We saw it happen with A.J. Green. We saw it happen with a lot of very elite players. Yes, there have been a few and far between that have gone after 30 and still been very productive. But at that point, I'm expecting him to move down more into the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range, which is fine. But I still expect a lot of those other guys to still be in the wide receiver 1 conversation. So I'm going to probably be leaving him right around that 7 range that I have him right now.
I have him in 8. I still take Waddle ahead of him because I still believe in everything that we talked about last week about Waddle. I still believe in Debo as an all-purpose guy that'll get us there with the production there. I still, now the Amari Cooper news where I had Amari, where I was like, I don't know about CeeDee Lamb, where I had him at 5. And I was like, I don't know. This is the one guy I don't know. Well, now I know.
Right.
With Amari Cooper leaving, CeeDee Lamb's the guy. Let's go. Let's about to enter that DeAndre Hopkins phase. So A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is rumored to be on the verge of signing a 4-year extension as well, where he's going to be making $20 million a year. And then obviously Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson is where it's at. So every year counts in Dynasty. So Tyreek Hill, I'll take those years. And then A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Debo, and Waddle. I'll just take the years over those in startups. I'm looking at this as startup value, not contender value. Because if it was contender value, like you said, Davante shoots all the way to the top. I mean, it's kind of hard to argue against anybody against him as being wide receiver 1 100%. Overall. So that's where I view him.
Does this do anything for your view of the running backs that are there? Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Thank you, AJ Dillon. I wanted to say AJ Jones. Does it do anything for you positively, negatively? Because it does for me for a little bit with Aaron Jones, because if it was going to be a rebuilding team, I thought that kind of spelled the end basically for Aaron Jones. Now this gives him a little bit more life, in my opinion. Any thoughts on those 2 players?
No, I think it extends his life. I don't know that his time as a high-end like running back one is going to continue.
Oh, no.
Because I think A.J. Dillon has shown enough,
He's eating
both
a
in the
huge chunk.
passing game and in the rushing attack, that I think his role is just going to keep kind of expanding. So while, yes, I think it gives him new life in my eyes, like to kind of continue as a high-end RB2, that's kind of the extent of it.
I think they hurt each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think for me, I don't want really either of the guys, to be honest with you.
But you feel better now that Rodgers is here, though, right?
I certainly feel better about Aaron Jones now that he's there, because there's no like, but I think he just signed an extension, so it's not like he was going anywhere this year anyways. And I almost feel like
no, but you'd feel a lot different with Jordan Love run offense.
Oh yeah,
with
Smother City, yeah,
with Aaron Jones as a running back than Aaron Rodgers.
I think Aaron Jones is somewhat of a buy in Dynasty because everybody's so on that AJ Dillon bandwagon right now. Like it's really just dipped Aaron Jones' price in Dynasty. I mean, you could probably get Aaron Jones. I wouldn't be surprised by the time this draft hits as these names start to grow. And we're going to talk about it in the next show, like how like we all agree, like the depth at running back in this class seems way better than it did 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. The whole overall depth of this class, where not high-end talent, but players that you're going to want on your Dynasty roster has grown a little bit. So,
well, I feel like, this draft is so deep, right? Because there was a lot of people that stayed that extra year that normally would have come out of school last year. So, yeah, they've talked about it even on the telecast, if you guys watched the Combine a lot, how deep this class is going to be. Yeah,
so I'm interested in, like, maybe getting Aaron Jones for like maybe possibly getting for like 2-1, 2-2 and super flex leagues, like even maybe a little bit lower. Like there'd be value there, and I still think Aaron Jones is talented enough to.
Is he 27? No,
yeah,
it should be around there. Yeah,
I'm
he's
pretty sure
he's gonna offer value, and I think AJ Dillon.
He's still the pass catching back for them.
Yeah, and AJ Dillon looked really good, but I still think from a fantasy football output, like his value is a little bit overblown. Like I'd be looking to sell both of them, but obviously Aaron Jones' value is a little bit dipped. But if I get that same value for AJ Dillon, I can get like a Zamir White in the right situation. I might be looking to do something along those lines because that's my guy.